Then there's the whole range of issues around the research agenda and what's research and development gets particular priority, and increasing prominence of economic goals within part of this. And again, there's a lot of criticism and a lot of debate, and this is where political and ethical issues come in very strongly. But I'm going to highlight a few of the concerns that we have across a range of sectors. The security sector is one that we're particularly bothered about. Within security R&D, there's a very strong focus on military, technology-based approaches to dealing with conflict. And our concern is that there's not nearly enough money going into understanding the roots of conflict, how to deal with the causes of conflict, looking at the issues like environmental problems and ethnic problems and unstable government, and the way in which those concede security problems and conflict, and understanding better how to intervene to prevent conflict breaking out, and therefore and using diplomacy, mediation, negotiation in a much more prominent way, and being more actively involved and being informed by research on existing conflicts. But the vast majority of the R&D in this area is very much focused on the technology approach, and particularly in the US, and to a slightly lesser extent in the UK, there's a large amount of funding in security that simply goes from government R&D to military industry. I'm going to have to speed up now. There are similar concerns around agriculture, in that industry R&D focuses on a particular technology-based solution, and the difficulties in trying to shift that. And I mean, it's good to see that GSK announced recently that it was making available information on malaria, potential malaria based compounds within it, and making that open, and that shows potential in that area for progress to be made. But there's still a lot of progress that needs to come, and climate change is another one. I'll go on now to some of the solutions that we argue for. I mean, a lot of it is around greater openness, so that of the links between business and academia, and so that conflicts of interest potential conflicts of interest are in the open. Registers of interest for academics, this is something that there's legislation going through American Congress on at the moment. We do need, in order to help restore trust and understand to what extent biases might be apparent in the literature, we do need much more openness on this issue. There are greater ethical standards that could be used, and using social and environmental criteria for a basis for university business partnerships. More research on what exactly is going on and what problems and the full extent of the problems around industry, academia working would help. Looking at joint funding more than business-only grants, or more arm's-length funding, is another possibility. One of the things that the research on sponsorship bias shows is that grants that come from a single company are much more likely to lead to sponsorship bias than grants that are co-funded with other funders. And then there's issue around greater scrutiny from various committees. And in general, we'd like to see a rebalancing of R&D and more priority given to alternatives or environmental and social issues rather than economic ones. And there are broader issues around corporate power and around the inequalities of the economic system that we think that's bigger than just science and technology, but we think that that's part of the solution that we need to have. So, as a quick summary of what I've just said, I've finished now.
Sorry, we had to raise too long at the end. These are important points. Let's leave that one up for the moment. We do have time. I'm cutting into your coffee break, but because we've lost the time over the light business. But I think we have time for a couple of questions. Yes, please.
I'd just like to make a comment. I'm sure that Stuart is well aware of this communication before.
Microphone.
Oh, thank you. I think the reason he didn't mention genetic engineering in this context is that there aren't as many cases you can put your fingers on. Not much is being done by independent scientists to confirm the safety of genetically engineered foods and crops. And the reason for this is, first of all, the scientists who do this research tend to get vilified and they can lose their jobs. And the second reason, now they can't even get the raw materials to do the research. The companies that develop the seeds prohibit the scientists from getting hold of their seeds for research. And the only way they can do this is to agree that the company will have the final say over what gets published. Now,
Sorry, is there a question?
No, there's no question.
Okay, so leave time for somebody else. So just finish off.
Yes.
One more point?
Yes, that companies always submit data that shows the products are safe to eat, safe for animals to eat. But when independent scientists do manage to get hold of something and do research, always they find that there is harm to the health.
Thank you very much. Stuart, do you want to respond to that at all? No, it wasn't a question. Quickly.
I don't have anything to
No,
add.
okay, thank you very much. At the back there.
So the question is about the first point. You say that business has too much influence within science. Isn't that just a subsection of a bigger problem, which is that business has too much influence within democracy and it mixes with politics in general? So science is just one symptom of that new kind of structure of power. And
I would say it has a particular worry for the reasons I said at the beginning, that science does have a particular interest in working in science because that's how it makes its profit. So it's probably has a greater effect than in other areas of society, but I mean, we could argue about that.